Hi everyone, my name is Oscar Elek and I'm representing a team with Angus Forbes, Joe Burchett and Xavier Prochaska from the University of California in Santa Cruz, particular computational media and astronomy departments. And I'm excited to tell you about Polyphorm, which is our new tool for a structural analysis of large-scale cosmological datasets. And the main motivation for this work was actually to reconstruct and visualize the three-dimensional structure and distribution of the cosmic web. And so the cosmic web, as you probably know, is the largest structure known to physics. It's composed of these filaments made of gas and dark matter that interconnect galaxies and entire galactic clusters together. This particle animation has been produced by the Millennium simulation in 2005, and you're now kind of getting the sense of the scale by just starting to see the galaxies as these little bright spots. Since then, other simulations have confirmed that the cosmic web actually is a real thing. Here are examples of the Eagle and Bolshoi-Planck simulation. But when it comes to real observations, for instance, here is a Hubble Deep Field picture, you really can't see the cosmic web. And so why is that? Well, the gas that actually constitutes it is so diffuse, so sparse, that it doesn't really have any appreciable scattering or emission towards us. And so we're just really left guessing. There are some imprints of the cosmic web. For instance, here is a kind of indirect footprint on the cosmic background radiation, but this is just not enough to actually reconstruct the cosmic web. So the main task, more specifically, was to reconstruct and also visualize the structure and the density distribution of the cosmic web from galaxy data only. So here you have a field of 37,000 galaxies projected to 2 dimensions, and these are just positions and masses of the galaxies we are working with here. And the tasks that are actually related to this, to the main task, are both in terms of structural analysis of the cosmic web and then visualizing the cosmic web based on only data like this, discrete positions and masses of galaxies. So when it comes to the structural analysis, the main challenges there are that the large-scale physical simulations that I mentioned already are very expensive. They take months on supercomputers to perform. The second issue is that physics simulations they start from initial conditions, so like a homogeneous gas distribution, not from data. So you can't feed today's observed galaxy positions to a physics simulation and hope to obtain the cosmic web out of it. And so to actually overcome this challenge, we got inspired from nature. So you probably know this organism known as Physarum polycephalum, in English also known as slime mold. And what this thing is a very old organism called a protist, and it's actually a single cell, although it contains millions of nuclei flowing in these tubes. What this organism actually does is that it searches for food in its environment by climbing chemical gradients of the so-called chemoattractants that are emitted by food and also by the organism itself. And by just doing so, it forms these tubes interconnecting all the food sources. And it turns out that these networks that it produces are actually near optimal or approximations of optimal transport networks. And there are numerous studies that actually show that, even similarity to man-made transport networks. So you might be asking, why is this relevant for us, for the cosmic web reconstruction? So here is a quote from a recent astrophysical paper, and these guys say that filaments actually appear to be the highways of the universe, the transport channels along which mass and galaxies get channeled into the higher density cluster regions, and which define the connecting structures between higher density complexes. So essentially, the cosmic web is a transport network, and we are enlisting slime mold to help us find it. Now, the real slime mold is quite impractical, so instead we went for a simulation of the slime mold. The simulation we're using is based on the work of Jones, which was also used recently by artists like Say Jensen to create these beautiful animations. And the model itself is actually surprisingly simple. It's an agent-based model, so it contains these particle-like agents. And what these agents do is that they're trying to navigate the data, which in our case are galaxies, and they do that by actually looking in sort of a trail of the chemoattractant emitted by the data. And so by doing so, they kind of chain the data together into networks like this. So the agents are really the core of the algorithm, and they essentially do three things. So first thing is they sense their environment in different directions in front of them. Then they sample the environment, basically selecting the direction in which they should move next. And finally, they just move in the direction that they selected based on the sensing. And when you chain these three steps together, what you get is a random walk or a random process, if you will, where an agent here is trying to follow this gray sort of gradient of the chemoattractant in the environment, and by doing so, it actually leaves a trace of its positions. And the cosmic web reconstruction, as we understand it, is actually a superposition of millions of paths of agents like this. So this is what it looks like. The main technical contribution of this work was actually that instead of deterministic position and direction sampling for the agents, we implemented a stochastic Monte Carlo scheme to sample these directions and positions. And this, as you can see, increased the expressivity of the model quite a lot. And as we found in our experiments, this actually much better corresponds to the cosmic web distribution according to our references. So when it comes to the visual analysis, the main purpose here is to actually help astronomers with fitting the slime mold, so-called MCPM model, to the galaxies or to whatever data they feed it. And this by itself is implemented interactively on the GPU and runs in kind of lockstep with the simulation. And this is what it looks like. So we implemented different modalities, mostly based on volume visualization, but also we have a particle visualization mode. And each of these is designed with a specific purpose in mind, mainly to kind of verify that the cosmic web reconstruction is sensible and that the distribution of the densities that it yields are as one would expect from the cosmic web to be. So we have some interactive plotting there and different coloring schemes to emphasize the different density brackets there. So let me tell you something about scientific use cases that we used Polyphorm for. So first of them was to actually do the reconstruction. And here we produced the first three-dimensional map of the cosmic web of this kind. So here you see some zoom-ins there. These yellow blobs are actually galaxies or galactic clusters. And you can see that the MCPM model actually interconnects the galaxies very well and kind of intuitively too. Here is it animated. So again, these are the galaxies in 3D. You can kind of infer the structures in them, but it's really not complete. There are gaps and artifacts that you can see by naked eye. And this is the reconstruction that Polyphorm actually gives you. So it is a very nice, dense network, and it's a really interconnected network. There are no gaps in it or holes. And using validation against independent measurement data, we actually shown that this is not only an intuitively looking reconstruction, but also one that very well corresponds to these independent verification measurements. The second task was mapping the simulated MCPM density to cosmic overdensity. So cosmic overdensity is a real physical quantity that astronomers recognize, and to get this, we actually fitted the model to a simulated data, in this case containing 450,000 dark matter halos. And again, what we got here was a very good agreement with the distribution of this data, and because the simulation itself contains a reference density field, we were able to show that you can obtain a reliable mapping from the slime mold to a reference overdensity data. And so this mapping was also used in the same study. Finally, we managed to reconstruct the cosmic web between Earth and an event called the flash radio burst, or one of the flash radio bursts, which are very short, strong impulses of energy. And in this study, we shown that the radio burst that actually travels along this red sight line goes through a very dense region of the cosmic web that we were able to reconstruct and visualize using Polyphorm here. So this was actually the first result of its kind. So the take-home message from all this is that Polyphorm has actually expanded our understanding of the cosmic web thanks to tight and interactive coupling between a bio-inspired visualization of the cosmic web and simulation. So in the future, we want to definitely expand our research. Here is the first prototype to fitting to about 10 times the number of galaxies that we contained in this study. And we also want to apply the model to other domains, already presenting work on fitting to language embeddings here at the Vis for DH workshop. And we also want to investigate biological scaffoldings because of the organic nature of the model, and also other optimal transfer problems in 3 dimensions and even higher. So this is all from me. Please take a picture of this slide. There are links to our research page and also the code base. We have plenty of videos for you to check out, so please be sure to do so, and we'll be very happy for any feedback that you might have. Here is the contact on all the authors, and yeah, thanks to everyone. Thank you for your attention, and happy to answer your questions.